Okay, this video is going to go over tuning on the 8-speed Chrysler transmission, ZF, whatever you want to call it. For the majority, this information will work for the Ram and it'll work for the Hellcat. Obviously, there might be a few things that are a little bit different. One of the starting points is that the TCM RPM limit needs to be at least 200 to 400 RPMs higher than your maximum RPM. That way, if the truck slightly exceeds during a shift, it will not put you in limp mode. Shift scheduling. I do believe I have a video for this that kind of explains things a little bit differently. One of the things is that, you know, on the Ram, this is it. This is the whole shift schedule for the Ram. The Hellcat, you have an up and down bar in multiple places here. So the Hellcats have significantly more tables. These aggression-based patterns is where a majority of your shifting is going to be. Now, I have another video explaining how these numbers work. I would highly recommend watching that video because it is significantly more in depth on it. But basically, a quick explanation is this number is output shaft speed of the transmission. So you need to take this number and you multiply it by the gear ratio to get the RPM that the engine is at, and at that point you can set your maximum shifts. I do believe that this truck is set up to shift around 6,300, give or take. Now, so that'll be, you know, your aggression patterns. It's kind of hard to explain how this works, but basically you have situation mapping, aggression mapping. Based on how you're driving, it basically counts certain variables and then picks which aggression table to go to. So there is ways in the scanner to log the shift patterns. So set up your scanner and you can log shift pattern and find out during certain situations where your transmission is at, and then you can fine tune it a little bit better. Now, the green are areas that I've changed. I've changed cruise control, and then I've changed basically these shift patterns here and here. And then I don't really remember why I did 35 through 38 and 41 offhand, but basically you'll be able to find out what shift patterns your vehicle goes into, and you only need to change those tables. You don't need to waste your time changing 100 different tables that your truck may never see. But basically these always get changed. I always change every single one of these, no matter what. These tables here, and then whatever number is here, I automatically change here as well. You cannot control any of these tables, which is kind of dumb. For those of you who might run your vehicle on the dyno, I don't know if it changed or not for the Rams, but when you put the Hellcat in manual select mode, table 27 was the exact table necessary for you to manually select a table on the dyno and be able to stay in that gear. Desired line pressure. You can see that we have just a slight increase of line pressure here. So, you know, we take all these tables and times them by 1.05, so which would be 5%. You know, or you can take away if the shift pressure is too high. Let's 0.95 means you're taking away 5%. Okay, and that puts it basically pretty close. So what I can say is that chances are these tables here that I all have, I added 5%, and that's a good base point. You don't want to go crazy. You know, make small changes at a time until you get where you prefer your vehicle to be. All these green here are all shift pressures that were changed on the upshift as well. And you can see they're all just slightly changed. Every one of these tables would have gotten 5% increase from me as well. I do believe I left, no, I did not leave the downshift. I changed certain downshifts based on my own preference. Shift timing, you have the normal slip time and wrap time. I changed first to second, second to third, third to fourth. On these, the slip time I did all the way to fourth and fifth. It's going to be in the exact same place here. Basically, instead we are making these smaller. So these would all get times by 0.95 and take away 5%. Now, depending on how performance feel is, you can keep adjusting those to your own preference. Same with the downshift. Now, I never ever touch fill time. I do not have anything to do with this. I do not mess with it, and I can honestly say that I don't know properly how that works. So I don't change tables that I don't understand how they work unless I'm testing them out. Torque converter enabled gears. Currently, let's see, stock, reverse neutral through 8th gear. Right now, 4th through 8th gear. That way it can lock up at cruising speeds in town and get you a little bit better gas mileage in town. Some people might even get rid of it in 4th and 5th as well. Okay, so I made this here to all use the same torque converter map, which is pattern 5, zeroed out everything else. So 1st gear uses map 1, 2, etc. So 8th gear uses pattern 5, map 8. So here you go. Map 1, map 2, map 3, map 4, map 5, map 6, map 7, map 8. Okay. These are the same exact numbers. These are output shaft speeds as well. Or maybe I'm wrong. Give me 1 second. It's been a while since I've done this. Okay, so it is actually engine RPM, which makes a little bit more sense. Basically, you have your unlock, your slip to unlock, unlock to slip, slip to lock, lock to overlock. I've gotten rid of the lock to overlock before, and I really didn't see anything. Oh yeah, you can see right here. I have it in 4th, 5th, 6th, and I have locked overlock in 7th and 8th. And it's supposed to help keep the torque converter locked a little bit longer. Again, it's something that I don't recommend messing with unless you're messing with just that table by itself. Okay, I did not mess with any of the slip patterns. We have, let's see, minimum accelerator pedal position required to activate torque converter performance mode. I dropped that from 95 to 75. Maximum gear to allow torque converter performance mode, 8th gear. Now this is something, again, is up to you whether you want to put on or not. The torque converter being engaged at wide open throttle, the vehicle will make more power. The problem is when the torque converter is engaged, it also generates more heat. So it's up to you what you want to do. If you plan on racing the vehicle, locking the torque converter can help you make anywhere from 10 to 25 more horsepower to the wheels. And I mean, on other vehicles, it might be even more. Let's see, torque converter, maximum torque limit enable. I have this shut off personally. That's again one of those things that is up to you whether you want to shut that off or not. So gear based, I have this maxed out, 959 foot-pounds of torque. Again, 959 foot-pounds of torque. So this is the amount of torque that is subtracted to the transmission during gear intervention changes. So you'll notice here the number has been basically cut in half. So I personally, on this vehicle, I cut it down by 50%. I'd recommend a starting point to type in. So I would recommend selecting the whole thing as a starting point, and I would recommend doing like 0.9 and wait, hold on, my bad. Yep, just like that, 0.9, and that's taking away 10% of what it's taking away. So I would recommend starting low and working to a point that's comfortable for you. Always with transmissions, you never want to make big changes because transmissions can be very finicky, and it is very easy to destroy a transmission if you do something improperly. Torque limit maximized here. Force torque intervention, same thing. Took away 10%. Basically on every single table that was green. Again, I would start at 5%. I did not mess with the downshift torque management at all. So this is basically a good starting point for the 8-speed ZF transmission. But like I said, go over these base changes. Do 5 to 10% on everything, and then from there decide if you want something firmer or whatnot. You can even make one change at a time so you can kind of understand for yourself what exactly each change is doing to your vehicle.